Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishwaro Guratmeti Murti Beda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sarvavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste Om Ishwara Om Lord. We back to Gita, the beauty of Gita 13th chapter. The verse is the combination of several verses, verse 12, 8 to 12, and the last virtue or quality mature or refined mind develops is present here as the discipline which allows us mastery over the sense organs. So we have to have mastery over the entire equipment. But once we break down the equipment, we see that our subtle body has different centers of functions, and the organs of reception, organs of perception, which are different from their instruments. And then we have the emotional thought level of the mind that we need to watch what kind of thoughts are being produced. So there are different levels we need to develop discipline and mastery, which is quite a project. Because as we know, the machinery, the body mind sense complex, it gets hooked now to the objective world of desirable objects and undesirable objects as well, and then suffers that which I like to put in terms of a magnetic force of attraction and repulsion that we can imagine, since the mind itself, the subtle body, the soul itself is a well integrated mechanism. So if we have our emotional mind, thoughts producing strong attraction, strong repulsion, it's going to make our emotional mind agitated and disturbed, stressed out. And then, as we know, our Viveka Shakti is going to be impacted as well. So, therefore, we need to develop mastery over the sense organs, the organs of reception and the organs by which we reach out into the world, those windows, those channels by which we contact the respective objects or namarupas with certain attributes. So we get this machinery from God, and God says, so, I mean, it's very nice. You can experience the world and you can enjoy the world, because the animals out there do not seem to enjoy the world. They enjoy if you give them food that they like. But besides that, they don't seem to enjoy not even sex. One time I heard someone say that not even sex the animals seem to be able to enjoy, because when you see two animals or two dogs making love, they don't have any expression of joy. So we have this mind, this equipment, which is sophisticated enough that we can enjoy or suffer the life, this duality, subject object duality, and we need to have mastery, because this ability to enjoy life, developing moments of great joy and happiness, it comes with a price tag which is huge. The price tag is that too much joy is going to slave you, because you're going to get addicted to joy. If the experience of life is pleasure and pain, and then you, if you start getting a lot of pleasure and pleasure, you're going to forget that life is about all pairs, opposite pairs, side by side, hand by hand, hand in hand, and then you're going to be hooked, dependent, slaved by any expectations of objects of happiness, pleasure, or joy. So the sense organs are going to naturally contact the object of one's preference, and for as long as it's just a preference, it's okay. But the moment preference becomes a strong attraction or desire, and then we begin having a problem, and then those binding desires, they develop to become addiction, and then we have no power anymore. The objects are going to slave us. The sense organs are going to work for the objects. They are not going to listen to our intellect. And then we lost the game of life. We're going to be moved exactly like animals are moved, but with a subtle difference. Animals, they have no saying, but we have a saying. And the fact that we have a saying, by having the ability to connect the dots and see what kind of experience is going to elevate me or destroy me, we are subject to the psychological suffering, which is common only among the human jivas. So, and all of this equipment was given to us by Ishvara so that we can interact with this world. In the process, we develop raga dveshas, as we know. It's quite a setup. We have the potential to go beyond this duality and realize the true nature of God, the true nature of reality, the true nature of the self, and live from a perspective which is, which transcends the pairs of dualities among them, what I love and what I hate, what I'm attracted to, what I'm repelled from. So that is the situation of human jivas. Experience of slavery, that's why they call samsara chakra. You're tied in this. On a macro level is life, death, and then rebirth, and then life again, and then again you are bound to this delusion. The delusion is that the world of objects is a reality. And the key here to win the game of life is to be able to control your field of experience in a way that you only experience joy and happiness, which is impossible, as we Vedantins know. So understand the impossibility of such a task is a sign of maturity, spiritual maturity. Not understanding it or understanding it superficially, but yet living from a different angle, which indicates a certain dysfunction or split personality. I know things, but my life it's not harmonized and conform to what I know. So for that, it requires great effort, alertness, discipline. So we have to keep our sense organs in check most of the time, being very careful. And that does not end with self-recognition. Even after self-recognition, one has to bring the mind again and again to God, again and again to God, again and again to the scriptures, converting all these human desires in love, reverence, and devotion for this opportunity, for Ishvara, for life, for existence, the miracle of being here and transcending this prison. So So that's the situation. When the sense always come in contact with any object on a regular basis, it's unconsciously it develops attachment to the objects of desire, the ones that I feel attracted to. Excuse me just a moment. Oh, addiction forming nature is there. Every sense organ is subject or is vulnerable uh, to slavery, to attachment, to addiction, dependence, anything. We can get attached to anything, even a football game or particularly TV show. So the analogy of a child is going to be moved by sense pleasures because he does not have any knowledge to discriminate between what is going to be good for him health-wise, for example, and what is going to be bad for him. So I brought up one child, and it was always with other children. I was trying to bundle up the children so that I would have a few days free, leaving my child with other parents in India. And by doing so, I got to understand that the children, if you let them to themselves, they are going to eat only potato chips, chocolate, and things of that nature. And then if you don't want trouble, you just allow anything. And then later on, the children are going to blame the parents because, now I have a lot of deficiencies because my parents did not educate me on what to eat. So if we don't have a Viveka Shakti discernment or knowledge like a child at certain age, we're going to not be able to deal with this setup, which brings about addictions to things that feel good, such as chocolates. And it's so easy to give in to these addictions because a child literally throws a tantrum that gives a lot of trouble, a lot of energy to deal with a child in that condition. And the same way is our hardwired vasanas. Sometimes they do throw a tantrum, even if you are old person or older person, because one wants what it wants, when it wants. And if they don't get it, they behave exactly like a small child. That's why most adults are children-like. They're immature, because they did not develop enough discrimination, discernment. Every sense organ behaves such as a child if you don't discipline them. If we allow it, the sense organs are going to demand certain experience, certain tastes, certain feelings. You grow in age, but you become like a child. You become addicted or a slave. Afterwards, you try to master the sense organs, but they have become so powerful that they are going to expose your impotence. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, every time we go through these things, I see the orange man. you know. So the orange man here, he's throwing a lot of tantrums because he's realized that he's not a king and he cannot demand the world to do everything he wants. And he's learning that at very late age. So if you don't learn that early enough, you're going to behave like a child, or immature idiot, throwing tantrums all around the globe. And the sense organs, such as the other nations, are going to say, we don't want a king. They will say, I want coffee, I want chocolate, I want this, I want that. But you know very well that it's not good for us, it's not good for everybody, but I want it. I want it. And I will destroy you, Viveka Shakti, if you don't give me what I want. Well, Krishna said something on those lines on the second chapter. Did you uh, did you translate this verse, Lynn or Mark?
I've got it. It says, O son of Kunti, the senses are so strong and turbulent, O Arjuna, that they forcibly carry away the mind, even of a person of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them.
Yeah, beautiful. You see, all this break down into what the mind is, he's saying like the sense organs are so powerful. So we would say, but sense organs is nothing, it's just an instrument, yes, but it is blessed by consciousness and gives it a sense of desire. I want it. The sense organ is a living mechanism that wants what it wants. Of course, the mind and the intellect is behind it, but since they are blessed by consciousness, they become kind of alive and they want what they want. Okay, and they are so strong that even someone in this process with a desire to develop mastery over the sense organs, yet had to be very vigilant and work very hard because they can become so powerful that they can drag the mind, the intellect, they can challenge the intellect and the mind and drag it, pull it. The same way the individual soul drag all the sense organs from one birth to another birth, the same way the sense organs is going to drag the intellect and the mind and attach it to the field of objects. So if the intellect has no power anymore, that's not good. So I have become a slave. And if my goal is spiritual growth and moksha, I need to change that situation. Being a slave is something. So we can give into a small little addiction, such as a good coffee in the morning. Cigarette is I don't know. I mean, I'm not into cigarettes. Coffee is a little bit more understandable, but yet it has to be very moderate. Liquor is even worse. Those are more extreme addictions or vasanas that are going to destroy you. Drugs, liquor, cigarettes, coffee in moderation is not a big deal. It's just a little caffeine. But if I cannot master these small vasanas, such as cough and cigarette, which is less killing than hard drugs or hard liquor. If I cannot master these small things, how can I become a master of the sense organs? So it's like mastering a small dog. You have to educate, educate, educate. He does not have much Viveka Shakti, so you have to somehow train the dog to follow your demand, your command. So the same thing with the sense organs. They have to be and they have to surrender to its master. And It's not that they have free will, but they need to be somehow trained to obey our commands. They have to be trained to obey our commands. You try to explain to a child, but the child is too young to understand that eating chocolate and potato chips for the rest of one's life is going to create a lot of problem. And then the child has to listen that to an extent that it obeys to your command, even if it does not clearly understand, you know. Developing a vasana. I want to change this vasana from sensory pleasure, immediate sensory pleasure, to a vasana of discipline and moderation. If I cannot become a master of these small things, how can I be free from this cosmic ignorance, by mastering my mind, my sense organs, and so on. Therefore, the intellect begins to feel the guilt, and that's how the tug of war begins. I don't know this expression, if you can shed some light.
I think it's just referring to the back and forth of wills.
Struggle of war, something like that, struggle.
Mm.
Yeah, because the intellect is going to say no, and then the sense organs are going to say yes, or the emotional mind, you're going to say, oh, but I like it. I like it. And then sometimes it's so difficult that you may be able to win a battle today just to lose it again tomorrow. It's very common. And somebody was having this kind of conversation without having a clear understanding about the power of habits and vasanas. It was, to me, giving up smoking was not difficult at all. I have given up many times. And then when you talk a little bit more with the person is going to say, I give up many times because I begin smoking again, and then I give up again, I smoke again, I give up again. So it's not a very easy win over that battle, that enemy challenge. Once the intellect fails a few times, the intellect does not know how to handle the guilt and the frustration and the sense of impotence. And then and then Swami likes to bring this concept, which is very nice. When the intellect starts losing these battles again and again and again, like it happens all over the world in terms of geopolitics, when you cannot win your enemy, you join your enemy. And it may happen in the Middle East. Don't be surprised if at the end Israel and Iran they just become partners, okay? Because if they cannot destroy one another, they may join one another to split the cake of the Middle East. So if you fail to win over this battle over addictions, a easy way is to join the enemy. How you join the enemy, you're gonna find justification. Yes, it's okay. I tried, but then I understood that's not necessary because after all, we're gonna die one day. Doesn't matter if I smoke 2 packages of cigarettes a day, because I know some people who don't smoke and never died of cancer. You're gonna find some justifications to join or to embrace that vasana. So you are friendly now to your vasana. You don't want to confront it anymore because you feel impotent. This is denial and justification. It's very common in human psychology. Denial, no, I changed my mind. It's okay. And why? Because of this justification. The intellect knows how to justify every addiction. I will argue, even though the manufacturer have to leave. So if I stop smoking and then the cigarette market is going to go down, some people are going to lose jobs. It's better I can I can keep the economy rolling. So I will smoke my cigarette. This is very nice, this joke. Swam likes this joke also. Here and there he brings it. Somebody wants to justify one's vasanas about cigarette. And I had somebody in my family who was alcoholic since very early age when he married my cousin who was kind of sister because he lived with us for 10 or 15 years before she married this man. And he died 5 or 10 years ago at early age, 67 or 69. And he used to drink and drink and drink. He wasted his a fortune of what he has acquired along his life because he was aggressive and competent in making money. He he wasted everything with alcohol addiction, and when we anybody would talk to him about that, he says it's okay. No, it's I'm the all the alcohol that I take in it helps to conserve me. This concept that things are conserved well in alcohol. He says so. I have a lot of alcohol to conserve myself, my body. So here is somebody who says like the teacher is saying, you see this insect here, I'm gonna put in this cup here with alcohol and I will see that the insect and the germ is gonna die right away. And then the idea was don't touch alcohol because it kills everything. And then the fellow got up and said, so I'm very happy to know about that because that helps me to justify the fact that I drink alcohol so that I can kill all germs within myself. So I have a clean inner body or stomach. So any argument may be twisted. The intellect knows how to do that, to justify and pacify or remove any sense of conflict or impotence or frustration of the ego, of the mind. The ego is always find a way to protect its image. It does not like to present itself as a failure and say, no, I do this for this and this and this. I am the super I. Therefore, only the best solution is with regard to any addiction is prevent. So Swami all the time talks so strong vasanas need to be avoided because once they are established, they are more difficult to be conquered. Okay, so the best solution is prevention. But you know, most of us, I don't think people coming to Vedanta, they were never really completely enslaved by extremely destructive vasanas. But because when they are very, very crystallized, those destructive vasanas, the person does not have much a way to find its way to Vedanta. But if we see that there are some vasanas that may destroy us, spiritually speaking, in due course, it's better to remember that prevention is better. It's like any illness. If you have a beginning of an illness, know that if it becomes a terminal disease and then the battle is much more difficult, more or less what happened to me when I had to sell our restaurant in Olympia, Washington, and came to Brazil to save my skin, to save my body. And my doctor was saying again and again, so walk away from this lifestyle because if you get this cancer that you are you are potentially a candidate, and then it's going to be much more difficult to reverse it later on. you know. So sometimes prevention is the best cure. Alertness becomes important, and that's why they say once in a while we need to practice say no to some of our preference, especially the strong ones, you know. Say no. It's a form of tapas. It's just a checkpoint, you know. You just say, "Bah, let me see this attachment here, this desire. Oh, I fell in love with someone. People do not get there, you know. But suppose you have somebody in your family that fell madly in love with somebody else, and if you suggest that one should once in a while do a check test, you know, and say, okay, I'm going to stay away from you for 48 hours, you know, deliberately. So just to see how attached and dependent I am upon being hooked up to you, you know. And so any intelligent person would say that's a good practice. So I don't want to be totally attached, you know. But if I say that to my brother, for example, he's going to feel offended because people believe that attachment and dependence is a symptom of great love, great love. In Yoga Shastra, it is called Pratyaharaha. In Vedanta Shastra, it's called Dhammaha. What it means, Vairagya, development of Vairagya. Vairagya is not aversion, it's just mastery. Good Vairagya is just mastery. It does not come from aversion to things, even though in the beginning you need to highlight the defects of every object that gives us pleasure so that we develop vairagya. And sometimes the guru, the scriptures and the guru sometimes exaggerates just so that we can start feeling that, that repulsion towards, objects of attachment. I don't want to go there, I'm going to go to my cave. I'm going to escape the world and so on. So this vairagya should not ultimately be permeated by this feeling of hatred or aversion towards the world, but it's just a vairagya which is a byproduct of understanding the nature of the game and the setup and how easily it is for us to lose our way and become attached to people, place, things, and situations. Nobody can enjoy life if one feels attached and dependent because it's uh, it's not it's an obstacle, I would say, because the very experience of attachment and dependence disturbs the mind, and the mind needs to be peaceful, contemplative, pacified, to go through this Vedantic process, which culminates with self-knowledge and freedom. So if the mind is attached and dependent, the mind is going to be experiencing constantly chronic disturbance, meaning to the effort or how to maintain or how not to lose this object of attachment. And all the time there will be disturbance. Okay. Therefore, dispassion is something other than hatred, even though some gurus try to highlight how disgusting this world is. Some people sometimes, some pastors say, you have to develop almost a feeling of disgustion, towards these objects of the world that they shine as something so full and a symbol of happiness and completion, but in the end it traps you and slaves you. Okay. So understanding is going to solve this extreme experience of attraction or repulsion, because the equanimity, it requires this profound knowledge that transcends all pairs of opposites, such as attraction and repulsion. So the goal is we can enjoy some sense object, but as long as I have mastery over those sense organs. The next virtue is anahankara. Ahankara means, here Swami says the ahankara here means self-conceit, which we saw before as manitvam. Here the anahankara means freedom from ahamkara, or self-conceit. Freedom from self-conceit is equal to humility, genuine humility, lack of vanity, of sense I am the go-getter, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, and so on, So the freedom from these alterations of the human ego, it manifests itself as modesty, humility. One becomes more and more beautiful without the sense I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the go-getter, and I am so proud of myself, and all those kind of, smells. Freedom from egoism means freedom of arrogance, pride, vanity, any other word you may find, you can put it there. And this is so subtle. It's so subtle. You need to go beyond this feature, this feature of the ahankara, which produce pride and vanity, and to be able to smell it and see on people who are still on its way towards that, and it's very interesting. Sometimes I have people who come to visit me here. And recently, 6, 8 months ago, I had a person who is one of my best qualified students. But yet the person came in here, and I could see so much pride and vanity and arrogance, And of course, you don't need to say that directly. But then later on, along weeks and months through such songs, I had the opportunity to point out that those symptoms are the very obstacles to get self-knowledge, and which depends on transcending the identification with the ahamkara, the proud and vain ahamkara, So, and sometimes the person has a good mind, has good intention, but the the ahamkara with its vanities and arrogance, they are there still, And the person is not aware that that is the very obstacle. And how are we going to tell the person, you have to dissolve this ahamkara, you have to let it just melt, in the light of these teachings. Let the teachings be the light, the fire that's going to melt the pride and arrogance of your ahamkara. And the person will say, what ahamkara, what a vanity, because the person cannot see it. Person cannot see it. So why Krishna bring back the same concept of absence of self-conceit, but this time calling it anahankara rather than manitvam? So is Krishna repeating himself? So literally, in normal context, they mean the same thing, they're synonymous. But here there is a subtle difference based on the context. Amanitva means freedom from self-conceit at the thought level. So the inner feeling, thoughts that, oh, I'm such a great soul, a great person, and so on. You may even learn that you should not express that physically or verbally, because that is going to burn your vanity as a spiritual developed person, you know? It's going to be in contradiction with your spiritual ego. But inside, we never know. The person may have a lot of these inner thoughts of self-conceit, you know? So in the inner and in this thought level, mental level, the person may develop this humility or modesty, which is based on wisdom, understanding that there is no construct which is going to be pure, 100% pure or perfect. And furthermore, every construct is just an instrument. They belong to the Lord, and I do my best to tune it and refine it so that I can live in harmony with my Lord. That's all I can do. I can try to do. So at the level of this freedom from this inner kind of tendency, you know, on the thought level, on the mental level, it's called amanitvam. So I'm not bothered anymore. I'm not disturbed anymore with these thoughts of pride and vanity. And some people have this in inner, in the mental level, emotional level, and then they start talking. I have somebody in my family that now is putting it out in words. I always knew that it was a huge ego, but it was suppressed somehow, and now it's coming out, writing things about how brilliant and great his singularity is, and now he can show himself to the world and so on, and it's all part of the process. If you have a superego that is suppressed, and if that superego does not get in contact with spiritual knowledge, such as the ones of the Gita, there is a potential for that suppressed ego breaks through and then not only think of itself so greatly like that, but start putting it out in words and deeds. But on the other hand, ahamkara here means freedom at the verbal level. Okay? So if in the mental level the person is still battling with this ahamkara, mental ahamkara, at least on the verbal and physical level, the ahamkara is under control. So it's not being allowed to express itself in such a way. So you see certain people suffering from lack of this virtue, anahankara. Now, everything they use the word I, it's referring to the me, I, the body-mind sense complex, and how great I am. I only use the first person singular. Ahankara mamakara, all the time. I and mine, I and mine. This is a personality which is all the time centered around the I, aham. Any subject matter you talk about this person with the lack of this virtue will convert into a subject matter to talk about himself or herself. We all know this kind of people, né? You talk about any event, and the person is going to convert it into a conversation to talk about I. I came here to live here 6 years ago, more or less, and I made an effort to. I did not make an effort. Naturally, I had some neighbors, and I just say hi, hi, and then I became friendly. But then people like to tell their stories, and they want you to listen to their stories. And their stories are usually very stupid. I did this, I did that. I got to know Osho Rajneesh, and I was doing this for him. How great my story is, and so on. And very soon it became clear that I had no base upon which to relate to any of these people around here, who consider themselves spiritually grown-ups because they were in contact with Osho Rajneesh 30 years ago, you know. So I said, there's no way. And then I kept it to my chickens. Any top under the sun, this fellow is going to talk about my story, and self-propaganda, self-proclamation, blowing his own trumpet. That is the ahankara. Ahankara, just, my story, pa, pa, pa. And ahankara means freedom from that stupidity, from that ignorance, vanity, and expressed in words, talking big, proclaiming how great I am, Oh my God. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this orange man keeps following me, everything now in my now a satsang, it comes up. So thus, Nichvan, Adambitvam, and Ahankara, they convey the same idea at different levels, three levels, the mental, verbal, and physical level. Adambitvam is freedom on the physical level, meaning to say the way you present yourself, okay? So you're gonna present yourself with a special, you believe to be a star, and then you dress in a certain way, you walk in a certain way, you. I don't know if you guys ever heard, there was in California a school, only in the United States, to bring about such a thing, a school on how to become a guru. Have you seen that? So they are going to teach you exactly what you should say, what you should not say, the way you should look, the way you should pause between, one sentence and another, all kinds of tricks to deceive people, to make them believe that you are a highly evolved guru. Adam Bitwan is freedom from this physical level of arrogance and vanity. But it's all ahamkara, manifest on different levels. The next virtue is yana da 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 da. Do not be body oriented. Do not consider your life as something connected to only your physical existence. Physical existence is only a limited external aspect of yours. I don't want to go back to find that fat combination of verse to see what are the words that relate to this passage here. Can you?
Yeah, it's about being over and over again, seeing or being aware of the distress inherent in birth and death and old age and sickness.
Right. Yeah, I remember. So this is seeing the defect and the pain involving being born, and then the pain about dying. Nowadays, we don't have much physical pain because the medical science learned how to avoid pain. You don't need to suffer pain anymore, even if you have a very, so to speak, painful terminal cancer like pancreas. They know how to disconnect somehow the nerve that brings about the sensation pain in a way that the patient can die without any pain. This is nice, but I don't know if it's nice. Maybe it's preventing the possibility for someone to exert some papa karma as well. But then the medicine brings about something that we could come back and say, no, but this is punya as well. Preventing, So we cannot make exactly 100% sense of all of this because this equation is very complex. But so one is understood the game of life, understood that there is pain involved even in those moments of joy and happiness. The defects are evident for anybody having eyes to see and a mind to understand. Try to understand that the physical existence of the body is very limited within space and time, but you are something other than the physical body. You have a higher nature as a subtle body and a super absolute nature as consciousness. So just don't be, it does not mean that we need to neglect the body, but don't be obsessed with the body. This obsession with the body is a huge obstacle. It's going to obstruct your spiritual growth. This body orientation will lead to a lot of problems. And what are all these problems of having a body-oriented life? Well, the first thing is that subconsciously we start looking at the mirror, especially after a certain age. You see that you are aging on a faster rate. Now it's speeding up, And then you see the body's change. It's not young and beautiful as before, and so on. And everybody at a later age knows that time is coming to leave the body behind. Okay. So if you are body oriented, you're going to suffer the ultimate pain of mind of life, which is the perspective of losing your physical body, because you unconsciously you have this understand this notion that if you lose your physical body, you lose your existence, your life. So with old age, there are a lot of problems coming with this aham, body mind as me, or aham, body as me. And then people, they do all kinds of delusional tricks, facelifts and this and that treatments. You want to grow new hairs. You want to, make sure that you don't lose teeth, putting fake teeth here and there. So you are so concerned about the look of the body. This body orientation is pain. It's terrible. It's an indication of inner ignorance, which manifests as desperation. So don't misunderstand and believe that the other extreme, like neglecting the physical body, is the answer. No. You want to use this physical body, as an instrument hooked up, to the field of objects so that you can extract wisdom from experience. So Vedanta says that the problem is not the body. The problem is to have a body which was not mastered enough so that he became a slave of ignorance, of avidya, or the sense organs that somehow mechanically hooked themselves up with its respective object. So the body is just an instrument, and we need to make the best possible use, but watch out with attachment with the physical body, which is the ultimate, the biggest attachment we humans usually have, especially if we are under the spell of a video. You know, attachment brings about fear, dependence, suffering. And attachment with the physical body is the most fundamental attachment and dependence. So the problem is the problem of suffering, the illness of samsara, which begins with desires, which becomes preference, and then attachments, and then many other disturbing emotions such as frustration and competition, irritation, depression, anger, so impotence. And then when people see that in spite of all these millions and billions of dollars, this body is going to collapse. And then I don't know what they do. There are a lot of stories about these billionaires doing what they are doing under the assumption that maybe in the future the body may be taken back from induced coma and brought back to life. So what are you going to do? You have to remind yourself of the defects, of this material, physical life experience of ours. We have to remember the upside is through this physical body. I have access to the structure, physical structure. Through this physical structure, I can develop wisdom. I can extract wisdom in the light of the teachings of the Upanishads from my experience with life, which were not properly examined, because nobody teaches us how to interpret and examine experience to begin with anywhere, except with the Vedas and Vedanta. We need to remember the defects, the dangers, the potential for attachment and suffering, huge suffering, so that we can prevent these hardwire attachments to develop. Then we have to remember the deficiencies, the problems. So we have to see things as they are. The physical body is an instrument that has a huge value. That's why sometimes the scripture seems to be contradictory. You say, oh, it's the highest instrument, the highest birth one can have, a sacred birth as human beings, and so on. Yes, because depending on one's prerogative, one may get, or merits, one may get in contact with the scriptures, and then in the light of these teachings, makes a proper usage of this physical body, a mind hooked up with the spirit, with physical body, working in the light of these teachings, has the potential to accomplish, which seems to be the purpose of all these incarnations, is to realize one's true nature, totally free and independent from the body mind and all its dosas, its defects, although it has the potential. The potential is for transcending this ignorance, transcending the obstacles which are inherent with the human free will, with human Viveka Shakti, and the possibility of experience extreme joy sometime in life, Therefore, we need to avoid this body orientation, body obsession or fixation. So there is the facts, the birth is painful. It's presenting fivefold problems or defects. The first one is to be born. Anyway, fortunate, the problem is over, and we forget the pain of birth. We forgot that before we are doing very well in confinement in the womb of the mother. We had no freedom, but still we are unconscious. And then to come out is a huge struggle. Meanwhile, we get over that and we forget, even though in the unconscious mind there are some memories, impressions from everything they say. It's understandable. It should be the way. Now, what are the later problems? I have to go through use a lot of difficulties and problems and psychological difficulties. You are not yet an adult, but you are not a child anymore. You begin having to deal with some responsibilities, but yet you don't need to pay all the bills and so on. So you're in between, and then you become a householder, and the householder goes through struggle as well. But from the point of view of physical body, the body start aging and presenting some physical defects. As I grow older, I become helpless in respect to the aging process of the body and the declining. And in addition to all these defects and problems, we observe after a certain age that the body is aging faster and faster. And then with old age, regardless on how well we take care of our physical body, old age brings with itself natural diseases which are inherent to older age, it's inherent to older age. So such is I'm pre-diabetic since a while, and now I had to be more strict with my diet. I lost some weight, which my doctor is not very happy about. But my doctor told me, my good doctor, said it doesn't matter. This is just scars. It's natural to old age. What you develop, the same way you develop gray hairs or no hairs and wrinkles, you develop certain conditions which are natural for your age. So we need to accept all of that. And then later on, the body is getting close to pack up and disease and death. Death means I'm going to lose the most dear thing to me, which is my body. So association, dissociation, getting together and separation. So Sangha, Asanga. So it's much better we just understand our true nature as always ever Sangha so that we don't need to deal with the situation of separation or dissociation from something that I became attached. This is the ultimate attachment, the attachment to the physical body, and can only be solved, this problem, overcome through this profound process by which one internalize this spiritual knowledge, spiritual teachings, All these problems, they are synonymous of pain, dukkans. They are the defects inherent to any birth, any life experience. If you remember all these defects, then you will never be interested in Deba Abhimana. And therefore, Deba Abhinana, Dosa, Darshana is required for Atma-yana. Well, remind me what is Deba Abhimana, please.
It's body identification.
Okay, thank you. So again, this is the ultimate attachment human beings have to their own physical body, and it's extremely hardwired. And I like Swamiji when he puts it in terms without exaggerations. And he says that self-knowledge and moksha is going to break this mistaken identification with the body as if it is my real nature, and not a mere instrument. But this body identification, deha abhimana, is so profoundly hardwired in the human psyche that even Yanis may still have to deal with it when one's time comes. Okay, so nobody knows. We only know when time comes. Okay, and I usually say that if you are really over with this mistaken identification, one of the signs is when your time comes, you'll be able to live with a smile in your face. Okay. Thank you, Lord. It was a great opportunity. Now I understood the game of life. Thank you for the scriptures. Thank you for the sampradaya. And now, if it's up to me, I prefer not to come back to another round because I understood all the doses. But if you decide I still need to pass another time, so be it. I'll be accepting it. Therefore, this vairagya is absolutely a prerequisite for ajñanam. Okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate Om Shanti 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 Om. Om Lord, thank you, my friends. We meet on Friday, okay?
Thank you.
Namaste.
Great. Thank you, Arlinda. Nice class.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, see you Friday. Bye now.